Welcome to this edition of It's Your City. I'm Karen Abowd, Supervisor in Ward 1, and I'm here today to recap an intense 8 hours of Board of Supervisors meeting of yesterday. I'll focus on the highlights. Due to a noticing error for the 1/8 of a cent sales tax initiative, the process unfortunately had to be repeated. So the morning began with a public hearing and an opportunity for public comment regarding the plan of expenditure for the 1/8 of a cent sales tax for public infrastructure projects pursuant to NRS 377B, which includes street and pedestrian improvements in the downtown area and Carson Street, William Street from Highway 50 East and the commercial corridor, and the construction, expansion, and improvement or equipping of the new animal services facility, as well as the construction, expansion, improvement, and/or equipping of the Multipurpose Athletic Center, also known as the MAC, and the construction and improvements to and remodeling for equipping of the existing community center. Supervisor Shirk's alternate proposals were considered for funding, but ultimately the initial 1/8 of a cent sales tax initiative to fund these projects was approved by a supermajority. Also defeated was whether this project should be an advisory question on the ballot. Discussion ensued on the delays created by doing this, the strain on city staff and resources, and the fact that NRS statute, this is not required for the 1/8 of a cent sales tax to be imposed. The second reading on this issue will be May 1st. Once passed, the tax can start being collected in October. I want to point out that this is a shared tax, and anyone who purchases goods in Carson City pays this. Its impact on an average family is $12.50 a year, but if you're not a large ticket item purchaser, the impact on your budget would be less. It's a great investment in our community for infrastructure, to attract business investment, and to create a drive-to, not a drive-by attractivity to our community. Approval was also given for a grant for $1.5 million for a main apron ramp reconstruction at the Carson City Airport, and a public hearing and adoption of a resolution authorizing a medium-term obligation of up to $2.7 million for purchasing, upgrading, and replacement of equipment and software needed to operate the city's 911 enhanced telephone system, and to fund the cost of improvements and equipment for the city's landfill was also discussed. The sources of the revenue of the city anticipated to repay the general fund portion of bonds and the dollar amount expected to be available from the city's general fund is approximately $1.6 million, and that equals the difference between revenues for landfill generated versus the amount of expenditures in the landfill division of the general fund. And the approximate debt service paid from the general fund per year will be $203,000. The 911 surcharge portion will come from the 911 surcharge fund. Extensive discussion on providing direction to staff regarding zoning and business license requirements so they can prepare an ordinance permitting medical marijuana establishments in Carson City took on lots of dimensions and directions yesterday. 2 dispensaries are to be allowed in Carson City. The state will accept applications to be vetted by the Gaming Control Board at a date announced soon, and these applications will be ranked. These rankings will be passed to the municipalities for final decision, and Carson City is also considering a special use permit as being part of that process. With models and examples provided from other counties on what zones they are allowing dispensaries in, and discussing the issue of patient access to those dispensaries, and that being a primary concern, the discussion ranged from limited industrial to general industrial to including general commercial. Planning will come back with a map indicating where exactly that will allow dispensaries to be, given the restrictions of the 1,000-foot buffer from schools and the 300-foot buffer from community facilities. The ordinance will be finalized by May 28th, and the second reading will be in July 3rd, in the July 3rd Board of Supervisors meeting. The city manager selection process received approval for the 5 finalist candidates to come forward for final interviews. The Citizen Advisory Panel did a fantastic job with their interviews and their rating sheets. For any of you that would like to view those interviews, you can go online to www.carson.org to view those interviews. Each candidate is interviewed for about 70 minutes, and then the detailed ratings of each of the panelists is also on the website for you to view. The candidates for final interview are Jim Nichols, Stacy Giomi, Tim Hacker, Nick Morano, and Jeff Fontaine. On May 1st, each member of the Board of Supervisors will have a private 15-minute conversation with each of the candidates. Then, on May 2nd, the Board of Supervisors will meet each of the candidates and who will do a presentation, and then the board will have structured questions from the Interview Architects program that we have used throughout this process to fine-tune questions and answers that we would like to hear from the candidates. It is the hope that by the end of that day, we will have chosen a new city manager. The Board of Supervisors reconvened as the Board of Health, and Health and Human Services submitted, amongst other reports, their Health Officers Report and their 2013 Second Annual Report. Of note is that Environmental Health has done a great job integrating systems in the cross-jurisdictional sharing program with Douglas County for environmental health inspections. It has been quite a process, but they've done an excellent job making that happen. And on March 25th, the documents were sent in to finalize the long process of Health and Human Services being an accredited agency. Once receiving that accreditation, it will allow them the ability to to apply for other granting opportunities. The last hot button issue of the day was the Public Works Department reclaimed water contingency plan. It's no secret we're in a drought, and reclaimed water production has decreased 24% over the past 13 years, and the demand loss is exceeding supply. Projections show reclaimed water shortages of 200 acre-feet to 860 acre-feet annually. The fiscal impact to provide the domestic water supplementation needed to cover the reclaimed water shortage is $52,000 to $188,000 annually. At issue are the contracts for effluent water negotiated years ago. In order of priority, those under those contracts are the Nevada State Prison Farm, who uses at about 1,100 acre-feet a year and can at maximum use 3,000 acre-foot a year. Their average use is around 1,176. Empire Ranch Golf Course comes next in priority. They use about 790 acre-feet a year, are entitled to 1,385 acre-feet a year, and their average use is around 650. Eagle Valley Golf Course follows after them at 1,000 acre-feet a year, with their average use running around 849, and Silver Oak follows them at 500 acre-feet of usage and an average usage of 467 acre-feet. Voluntary reductions of 25% will be the plan of attack, and that plan will work as there'll be voluntary cutbacks and a first notification. The utility manager will notify all reusers of the supply shortage and what actions will be needed to avoid water restrictions. The Public Works Director may start domestic water supplementation at Stewart Pond. Stage 2, voluntary cutbacks, and that's a second notification. Utility manager will notify all reusers of the continued supply shortage what actions will be needed to avoid watering restrictions, and provide an estimated time frame on when water restrictions will happen unless changes are made. And then the Public Works Director may start or continue domestic water supplementation at Stewart Pond. And stage 3 is water restrictions. The supplemental supply in Brunswick Canyon is nearly empty, and only supply available is what is coming from the wastewater treatment plant. This is in its final phase of dire need. We're not there yet, but we're trying to plan for shortage. The utility manager shall estimate how much reclaimed water is available daily from the wastewater treatment plant and allocate that volume based on the acres calculation method. With a 1-week notice, the utility manager will notify all reusers of the watering restriction date and their allocated daily volume, and it shall be the responsibility to the reuser to monitor their daily usage and ensure they will stay within their allocated daily volume. If a reuser exceeds the daily allocations, the utility manager may shut down supply to that reuser for the remainder of the day. The utility manager will provide weekly updates via email to each reuser of their daily usages until watering restrictions are lifted, and the Public Works Director may start or continue domestic water supplementation at Stewart Pond. At the end of the calendar year, the utility manager will summarize the year's activities, and costs incurred from domestic water supplementation shall be paid via service charge from the sewer fund to the water fund. With that being said, long-term solutions to this issue are being considered and will be part of an ongoing discussion with the Board of Supervisors. Well, that's it for today from It's Your City. Thank you for your time and your attention. Have a great day.